So please welcome Ben and his talk, Sneaky Ways to Integrate Gen AI for Real World Impact.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here. If I am understanding correctly, it is, what is that, 1,500 hours over there in Ukraine, where here in Texas, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm still waking up. Your day is midday and such. But we're going to have lots of fun. I'm excited to talk about sneaky ways to integrate Gen AI here. So, if anybody's interested, I already have a link to the slides. I know sometimes when you're in a talk, you're writing down notes really quickly, or you're worried that you will even get the slides. So, you have it here, QR code, you can scan it. There's the link if you want to type it in onto your computer. And down in the bottom left, I have a link in the footer that'll be there the whole time. So if right now you're thinking, I don't know if I'll even like this talk, why should I get the link to the talk? Later on, hopefully you'll get excited about it and want the slides. So you always have access to get to it there. So here's a question that I've been asking myself kind of over the last year or two. And the fact is that Gen AI is driving the next wave of business innovation, right? Every company that is doing anything of value has Gen AI or AI as part of it. And any new job openings want to use AI as well. So the question for me, the question for you, the question for all of us is how can we be a part of it, right? And what happens if our company is not doing AI or does no need to do AI? How can we still contribute to that and make sure that our skills are kept up to date so we can have experience with it? So that's what's been in my mind because, our apps, we're not going to be building huge summary bots or AI integrations like you see with Amazon's reviews or Gmail being able to summarize your email or Zoom being able to summarize a conversation, that sort of thing. Or co-pilots, if you've used GitHub Copilot and VS Code or any of the other coding co-pilots or even writing co-pilots, right? We're not building those, but those are really popular. And then, of course, there's the original Chat GPT here or Gemini Chat or any of the number of other opportunities, right? And pretty much any app that exists out there has some sort of chat interface to be able to ask questions about the data that they have there. So let's say we're not building any of those. What can we do? And this is where the sneakiness of AI comes in. And I am defining sneaky Gen AI as the opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between practical and achievable applications of AI. So it allows us to kind of sneak some AI into existing experiences. So I want to spend our time together talking about what that can look like so that hopefully we can figure out ways that we can add in AI in a sneaky fashion there. But before I get started, this is something I do whenever I'm in person. I like to break up the monotony of the talk and of the day by having everyone stand up and doing 10 squats like this together. Now, the interesting thing is that I'm at home by myself and I can't see anybody, right? You could just be sitting at your desk. So maybe you haven't moved all day because you've been watching. So I won't know if you're doing it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 10 squats. Feel free to stand up and do them with me. And hopefully, I'm just going to believe that all of you all are standing up so I don't feel self-conscious here. So here we go. We'll go 1 squat. Yes. 2 squats. 3 squats. Yep, we're doing it. 4, 5, halfway there. 6, 7, almost done. 8, 9, and 10. Yes. Okay. Okay. So here's what I'm asking. During the Q&A, I want somebody to at least tell me that they did the squats with me so I can feel okay with myself. So let me formally introduce myself. My name is Ben Ilegbodu. I live in Houston, Texas with my family here. That's on the far left is my wife, Rashida. We've been married for almost 15 years. We'll celebrate that in September. In between us is our oldest daughter. Her name is Simone. She is 11 years old. In front of me is our middle daughter. Her name is Avery. She is 8, soon to be 9. And then in front of us, in front of everyone, that's our youngest son, Asher. And he just recently lost both of his front teeth. So he has a hole coming through his mouth at all the times. And like he mentioned, I am a senior software engineer at Netflix. We're working on our TV application. So I am not responsible for the content of Netflix or the actual TV UI, right? So if it's broken, that's my coworker's fault. I am supporting all of the TV engineers, providing them component libraries and working on our monorepo, developer tooling, that sort of thing. And then I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies, now focusing on AI, of course. So let's kind of dive deeper now into Gen AI in general. So I kind of group them into these 6 buckets, if you will, here. So on the horizontal axis, the types of Gen AI are pre-generated. So you get to the experience, the page, the screen, and you already have the content. And on the bottom row is interactive. So Gen AI continues to work as the user is interacting with the application in some fashion. Then on the left hand side, in the vertical columns, we have the content. So Gen AI is generating content for us to use. In the middle is decision making. Not only is Gen AI generating content, but it's also making some decisions of which way to go. And then on the right hand side, we have conversational AI here. So I'm only going to talk about the first 4 because conversational is basically inherently not sneaky. You're building an entire app to be able to build a conversational Gen AI experience. So I want to talk about those first 4 because what we're trying to do is create sneaky AI, right? And the goal of sneaky AI, just for me to reinforce it, is 3 things. Well, one, it's going to enhance our existing workflows. So we're not building something brand new, but we're adding AI to existing things and potentially in a way that the user doesn't even realize AI is being leveraged. And then for the purpose of it being a more delightful experience for the users. So they can now do something faster, or they get help, or they have more better quality, right? Because they have information that's provided to them. And all this hopefully is easy for us to implement. So we're not building a huge AI solution, but maybe we're making 1 or 2 calls to the model in order to get the information that we need. So not a huge undertaking. That's the goal of sneaky AI. So let's jump right in. Okay, the first one being content. Gen AI delivering us content, and it's pre-generated when the user gets there. So I want to provide a real life example that I have. So I am working on this website, I guess you can call, for developer tools. The idea being that the developer could come in and ask for CSS to be formatted or CSS to be minified and those kind of developer toolings. So I can come in here and say old and the color is gray, right? And what I then ask for it to do is format that And there you go. Using prettier behind the scenes, it's formatted it into a way that's nice. So that's the essence of the app. So really, all it is this text box, these radio buttons, my button there, and then the solution. But if all I had was this on my website, it wouldn't rank well in any of the search engines because there's no content. So what I've done is to leverage GenAI by delivering all of this other text. Like everything that you see here is all GenAI generated. It's all there. It's this one call that I make before the page loads, and I tell it that I am creating a CSS, SCSS formatter, give me an intro description, give me how to use instructions, features. Like I give it all of these sections that I want and what the section should more or less talk about. And then it generates all of this content for me. How to integrate it into your workflow. Like I didn't write any of this content, right? Other tools that you may like here, related resources, like it provides all of that. So the purpose is for search engines to be able to crawl all of this. But it also can be very valuable to developers as well, depending on their understanding and their experience with the languages there. So, kind of digging into that some more, this concept of content that's pre-generated with CodeMata, that's the name of the application that I'm building. Um, it has the SEO benefits that are happening behind the scenes. So it's a quick win for me as a developer because I don't have to write all that text for each and every tool, right? It'll take a long time for me to do that. And it's probably written better than anything I would do, to be honest. And it's an existing page that already was there, that had the user experience, but now I'm adding to it there. And it's just there. It just shows up. So it's nothing too distracting or that the user has to go off and do something else. So this sort of approach can apply to a lot of different spaces. So you could use it for product recommendations if you're in e-commerce, or for your products, or real estate for your houses. You can use it to basically generate anything when the user comes up to the experience and you want to have some content for them to understand there. Okay, so let's dive into the second one. So that was content pre-generated. Let's talk about content that is interactive. And in this case, we use AI to power tools that help us create content there. Okay, so I have another example, and it's funny. It's a live demo here, and it's a lot, and that's already a little bit dangerous. And now I have a live demo using GenAI, which is compounding the danger of this demo. But hopefully everything works out fine. So here I have examples of an AI writing assistant where you have to fill out some forms. And I have a couple of scenarios for us. In a real situation, only one of these will exist. So I can give bug report, peer review, etc. So imagine I land on a, let's say, bug report page here. So what it gives me is areas to focus on: actual behavior, bug description, stuff that's going on in the environment, steps to reproduce. So here already is content pre-generated. I come on the page, there's content right there for me to help guide me in what I should write. So already it's helpful because I have a writing block. But if we want to turn this to interactive, I'm going to flip this real-time feedback. So let's say now this is the experience I land on. So I come in here and I'd say that when I visited the product details page, the description was missing! Exclamation point. So now it's like, okay, you've already mentioned the actual behavior. And I'm like, okay, I have that covered. I went to the home page, then I clicked on one of the thumbnails, and then the details page. So type that in, right? Now I've described the steps to reproduce. So in this way, it helps there to be higher quality information, in this case, a bug report. And also it helps me work faster and better because I know all of the different things that I need to cover and I know what I haven't covered. So instead of just having a generic description block that says cover these 5 things, it actually dynamically tells me what I should cover and then checks the boxes off once I do. And then once I filled out all 5, then the submit button would highlight there and I'd be good to go. So that's that demo, right, of how you could add it to be interactive. So I'm already in a situation where I have a form that needs to be filled out. So that is the essence of the UI. But now I'm adding GenAI to it sneakily so that it can be a better experience, right? So the content is better, I'm more effective, and I'm getting real-time suggestions to help me to be that there. And it's all contextual, so it's not general there. So you can imagine all the different places you could use this kind of experience, because really all user interactions boil down to a form. I don't know if you've realized that, but any kind of, we could dazzle it up and do all kinds of things, but effectively we're collecting information and someone's submitting information there. So social media marketing, all kinds of other social user avatars as you're filling out information for you. Information, it could change the default user avatar based upon that content. All sorts of different user experiences that we can build, that we can sneak in AI there. All right, so let's talk about 3, because we just talked about content. Let's look at how decision making can leverage Gen AI in our applications. So first, I want to talk about pre-generated, right? So this is where we have AI provide insights and recommendations for us. So I have another example that I wanted to show you here. So let me get to that. So let's talk about pre-filled forms here. Um, so imagine you have a user coming to this conference, right, and wants to register for the 2025 version of the conference. So this was a month ago, let's say. So I have this user, this conference goer, Jane Doe, and she's a senior software engineer at some random company. And this is just the profile she's already set up for the conference. So this already exists. We already have her interests and what she's interested in: artificial intelligence, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, DevOps. She's got a wide range of things she's interested in. And then also in her profile, we have all of these conferences that she's been to in the past. So Kubernetes talk, accessibility talk that she's been to. So let's say all of this information already exists. It's in the past. Now she's coming in and she wants to register for the conference. So she will land on this registration page, right? So the registration page pre-fills her name, email, title, company, like all of that standard. We had it in the database. This is what we've been doing for decades, right? But here's where AI jumps in, and it may or may not be sneaky, right? So we have these last 3 things that we have to fill in: session preferences, where she wants to go, what she plans to go to; goals for the conference, what she's trying to get out of it; and then speakers who she would like to meet during meet and greet times. Let's say that exists. So what AI has done is it's taken all of the talks at this conference, the 2025. It's not this conference, but let's just say it's some conference, and it's pre-filled all of this, all of these talks. So it's made a decision based upon her interests, based upon the sessions that are happening, it's picked all of these. So building high performant React applications because she likes JavaScript, but automating your infrastructure with Terraform because she likes DevOps. So she could go in and say, you know what, I don't want to learn about GraphQL. That's boring. No offense to anybody who does GraphQL. It's not boring. But then come in and pick other things and say, oh, you know what, I want to learn about Python because I want to learn how to do artificial intelligence, right? So she can go and change things as she wants, but it predefined filled stuff for her. And then it provides this content as well. So as a senior software engineer, I'm looking to enhance my skills in cloud computing. Remember, she liked that. Artificial intelligence, she mentioned that. And then DevOps and front end performance because she went to talks that talked about that in the past, right? So it generates that for her, but then she can go in and add in whatever she likes or supposedly fix it properly with Grammarly. And then here are the people that she could want to meet. She was like, oh, I don't want to meet Michael Brown. In fact, I want to come in here and meet Emily Wilson because I look up to her as someone who's a pioneer in the space. So that's the example of how we can take what would normally be a boring registration form and add AI to it, but in a way that's not in your face. So that is decision making. We use AI to make decisions. It also generates content because that's what GenAI does. It generates things, but it also can make decisions. So the example with pre-filled forms here, it was smart about what to pre-fill, not generic, or we'll list the top speakers, voted speakers, and we'll put those as the ones to suggest. No, it's actually intelligent about how it fills things out and ideally makes it faster for me as a attendee to fill out the form because it provided a lot of intelligent defaults and such. So think about all the places you could use that, right? So product recommendations for your e-commerce site or your learning site. You want to recommend classes that someone should take. Emails, it could help with that. What kind of email you should respond to based upon how the customer has interacted with previous newsletter emails, all kind of sorts of things. CRM, internal learning. You can use it pretty much anywhere, this kind of concept there. Okay, so now we have talked about pre-filled and content, right? Where you land on it, you have content. We've talked about content where it's interactive. So as you use the UI, you get new content based upon what you've done. And then we just talked about decision making that was pre-filled. So it's made a decision, you land on the page, but it's made some decisions about it. So now I want to wrap up with this fourth area, which is combining those two, which is decision making, but it's also interactive with us. So it's AI assisted real time decisions. So unfortunately, I didn't have time to make a demo. And the reason why, I'll explain the reason why in a second. But imagine you're on Nike.com. I'm on Nike.com, let's say, and I'm looking for basketball shoes. Well, look at it. There are 56 basketball shoes listed, and there are actually multiple colors for most of those shoes. So I'm now looking at, let's just say, 200 shoes that I have to decide between. That's annoying. Why can't you tell me the shoe that I want to use, right? And there are these filters on the left where I can filter by the player, if it's on sale or not, colors, price, et cetera, et cetera. But what if, as I'm browsing around, you being Nike.com, tell me what I'm interested in? So I'm scrolling. If I scroll past something, maybe I'm not interested in that. If I hover over something and get the quick details, now that's a signal that I'm interested in this. If I click in, ooh, that's a bigger signal that I'm interested in. And if I'm browsing the colors, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens here is that the user interactions, we are collecting all of that information, right? And we're sending it to the model. And then the model is telling us, oh, okay, show this shoe in this color to them next. So we use a windowing technique where we're not actually showing all 56 shoes at one time. We're showing 3 rows at a time. And then as they start scrolling down, all of a sudden we pop in new suggestions there. So in a normal case, we would just have a page, all of the 56 would be shown on the page, or 24, whatever the case is, and then go from there. But we're scrolling, we're getting dynamic results, and it's a better user experience there. So imagine that, right? So that's a little bit trickier, I guess I would say, to implement, right? Because we're collecting all of this data in order to give to the model. So the interaction with the model is not complicated. Taking its results back and rendering is not particularly complicated, but the collection is probably the complicated part. So it's borderline sneaky, maybe not. Depends on how much information that you have to give the model to do. But from the user's perspective, right, it's a personalized experience. So it's going to be different from the user, but from their perspective, it doesn't look any different than any other recommendations and product results that they're getting. So it's seamless, right? And they get to discover things that maybe they wouldn't have. And the idea being that they're more likely to find something they like and more likely to buy. So our conversions are a lot higher there. Okay, so let me quickly talk about the tech. The idea here was to spark ideas about where we can use GenAI. I want you to it to be percolating in your head right now in your apps that you're working with, where and how you could integrate it. But I just wanted to give you a quick insight into the key components of building or integrating GenAI. So there are 2 parts. There is the identity that we give the model, and then the prompt that we give it to on the user's behalf. So whenever I'm doing prompt engineering or prompting the model, setting it up, I always give it an identity. So, and that'll be a few sentences, maybe even more, about what it's doing and its purpose. Then I give it the task that I'm asking it to do and really break that down. And then at the bottom, give it examples. So if you get this, this is what you should return. So it gets the right tone and the right, what I'm looking for. And then most of the time, as I'm tweaking it and playing around with it, tuning it, I'll add some additional sections like considerations, maybe where I tell it like, no, you must do this, you must not do this, that sort of thing, seeing how it responds. And then the user prompt. So in this case, the example I'm giving is for the interactive writing there, AI assisted writing. So I'm giving it the instructions. So for the peer review, it was give feedback for your peer, and then passing it the content that they have. And then from that, it is deciding which topics to return and then which ones have been completed by marking them done. So that's the concept, and then the actual code using TypeScript, OpenAI's SDK. The response, or I communicate with it through JSON. So give it a JSON, and then it'll respond in JSON instead of just a block of text. So then now I can get the list of topics, whether they're done or not, defining a schema that I want it to return. And it still uses the chat interface, right? So I pass it the system instructions, and then I pass it a user message, like I mentioned, the prompt, but then that's done. I'm not continuing to have a conversation with it. It's just a one-off 2 message chat there. So that's the overarching concept. And this is actually the totality of what I used for the 3 demos that I provided there. So, at a high level, this is what Sneaky Gen AI is. If you want to take a screenshot of anything, I guess this could be the one that you take a screenshot of, right? So the purpose of Sneaky Gen AI is that it's supposed to be helpful to the user. We're actually adding an improved user experience there, and it's practical. So that's part of it. We're adding it to an existing workflow. So that's why the user experience is better. And ideally, it's simple for us to implement because we're adding it to a existing user flow. We're not building something very new. And the thing I like about Sneaky AI is that it's versatile. You can use it in any type of application, any sector, right? It's not just the tech sector or coding sector and stuff like that. And what's kind of most beneficial to me, what I'm most excited about, why I started doing it, is that it's accessible to me, right? So I can use this without having machine learning experience, AI experience. I can hit the SDK once I understand the SDK's API. Then I know how to use it. Then I can make a few calls there for the purpose that now I, as a developer, know how to use AI, right? It empowers me to up level my skill set so that I can stay connected to this technology that's transforming our industry, basically. It's important for all of us to have some sort of developer experience with AI. So, not just using Copilot or asking um, asking Gemini or OpenAI to tell me how to code this, right? It's important for us to actually know how to develop there. So I have some resources here that I mentioned throughout the talk. These are all links, so you'll be able to find them. The um, demo code that I walked through, some information about prompt engineering, knowing how to formulate things. I like to use Markdown format instead of paragraphs, which I found really helpful. And then some other more detailed, kind of advanced information, but really useful as well to leverage there. All right. So to wrap, right? There are 3 things I want you to take away from Sneaky AI, right? From this talk, rather, is that 1, I want you to start exploring how you can use it, right? It's intended to be simple and prototypable. So go and find one of your applications, start exploring with it. Today is Saturday. You can, on Monday, you got 2 days, start thinking about it over the weekend. And come Monday, start working on it, right? And it doesn't have to be a huge change, right? It can be a small change, just like suggesting what topics you should talk about in a forum. And it can end up having a big impact because if people finish stuff faster or they are more likely to spend a little bit more money, if our conversions go up 1, 2, 5%, that can end up being a huge impact. And then lastly, my charge is to delight your users, but be sneaky about it. That's all I've got. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter, Ben MVP. I'm basically Ben MVP everywhere you go. So you can visit my website, and I have lots of blog posts. Shoot me an email. Go on my GitHub for whatever reason if you want to spy on me and what I'm working on. And here again is the QR code. Pull out your phone. You can scan it. Hopefully now you find that the talk was interesting enough to get the slides. All right. And now, if you got questions, happy to talk about them there.
Thanks, Ben, for such a great presentation and even a little morning workout, especially considering
Yeah.
how early it's
Yes.
on your side.
So did you do the workout is the question.
Yeah. Me,
Okay.
yes.
I got at least one.
So thanks
I
for this.
appreciate it. Yeah.
So yeah, we have a first question in our Discord channel. So
Okay.
what is your vision? How do you think will LLM tool calling will LLM function tool calling be available in browser in the nearest future?
Ooh, so that's an interesting one. Just to explain function calling to those who don't know, it's a ability to connect our model that we're using, so Gemini or GPT, whatever the case, with other data, because we don't necessarily want to send all of our search results for our products right to the model. They change, prices change. So an example is I can ask the model. They typed in this, they're looking for this type of shoe. Then the model can come back and say, search using these search parameters, go and find what shoes match it. Then I give it back the 20 shoes and then it gives the recommendations. So that's function calling in general. Will it be used in the browser? Eventually, right? The browser is still trying to figure out, browser makers are still trying to figure out how they can provide large models to our browsers that may or may not be able to support it there. So I think once they have figured that out, which it's happening, then I don't see any reason why we could add in function calling, because in the end of the day, it's an API call, so it's not a huge lift there. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks for your answer. There
Hmm.
is another question also. So, how to
Great.
avoid or minimize AI hallucinations? And do you validate AI responses manually when generating prompts or using some automation tools for that?
Yeah. So AI, Gen AI will hallucinate, meaning that it'll sometimes provide data that you didn't ask for. So in my prompts, I explicitly tell it, don't hallucinate. So that's one thing I write. Don't make up anything. Only use the data that has been provided for you. Like I'll say it in like three different ways for it to convince it not to do it. But the interesting thing is the reason we use Gen AI is for its ability to process a whole bunch of data, but also to respond in a kind of conversational, real type of way. And as a result, it hallucinates. So that's the one gotcha around using it without giving information that AI is generating it. But in general, once I provide the correct prompt information, I'm able to convince it not to do it. And I can, there's also a dial from 0 to 1 of how, what's the term? How fun, let's just say, I want it to be. And if I turn it down, then it's more predictable in what it does. So yeah, those are my processes.
Okay, okay, thanks. And what about like testing this integration? So you showed several demos
Mm,
where we have it's integrated and some UI style connected to the actual responses. So how to
yeah.
test this functionality?
Right. So we can test the user interface like we've always been testing when hitting an API, because from the user interface, it's just calling some API. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's just getting back data. So we can mock that API call just like we've done it before. So there's that part. But then what the AI is actually going to do and respond is first, up until now, it has to be manual, right? So I'm testing it out while I'm building it and seeing that, okay, given this mock stuff that I'm using, it's returning back content in the form that I'm looking for. And then as we use it, when it's in production, doing the same thing. So it ends up being very manual because it can only a human can understand whether or not what it returned was good. I mean, in theory, we could use AI to validate the AI's response, I guess, but then we're just um, compounding the variability of what's happening. So that's generally what I've done is validate using human in development, and then in production looking at it. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay. Thanks for all the answers. And once again,
Hmm.
thanks for your great presentation. It was really informative
Appreciate it.
and yeah, useful. So thanks. Thanks you a lot.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.